Well, hello YouTube, and welcome to Friday's edition of The Breakfast Club with Got That Funk. Thanks for joining me. You might be wondering why you're looking at my face right now. The reason is simple. On Monday I missed my show, so I dropped a parachute guest host in to replace me. I was absolutely shattered from 10 hours on a bus journey, and I just was not in the right mental place to make a video. And thankfully I've got quite a few guest host videos on standby which I can drop in at any point. And it was my intention to drop guest hosts in every Friday for the foreseeable future until I get a permanent host for Fridays, something I'm still trying to do. But I'm taking my time about that. I want to keep the balance on the show a certain way and so forth. But in the meantime, I do have a lot of guest hosts which are very keen to come on the channel. So if you've submitted a guest host video and you're wondering why I didn't decide to pick your video today, I have to apologize. I'll tell you what though, I will put another guest host video on Monday to replace myself. But I had to make this video sooner rather than later because I have another guest tomorrow who is not so much a parachuter as it is a former member of the Breakfast Club. Sword Sage is not going to be able to make his video tomorrow, and one of the former members asked me if they could do a video response to Nathyn's video. And that's what this video is as well. So I wanted to do my response before that person does their response because I'm going to be dealing with Nathyn's video from a completely different direction to how they're going to be dealing with it. Now, Nathyn Brendan Masters is one of the best contributors the Breakfast Club has ever had, as far as I'm concerned. He's reasonable in all of his videos, he's articulate, and Nathyn's videos, quite frankly, have more views than all of the rest of ours put together. So I very much value Nathyn's contributions here in the Breakfast Club, and Nathyn's attitude in particular I value. And it's my presumption, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, that Nathyn and I both have an awful lot of respect for the way one another thinks. And it's my hope and expectation even that this exchange of videos is going to stand as a testament to how people can have strong disagreements candidly without people losing their shit or needing to have an argument about it. Now, Nathyn is such a reasonable person, and I'm such an overconfident cunt, that I actually think I've got a chance at changing Nathyn's mind about some of the issues he discussed in his video. Even if I don't change Nathyn's mind, I'm 100% sure that he'll give me a fair hearing and carefully consider what I have to say before he might reject it. But I actually think he won't reject it. Nathyn, with respect, without really meaning to, because I think you're not really aware of it, a lot of the things you said in your video, you were actually arguing against equal rights and against free speech. Now, before I explain why I think that, I want to tell you a little story to help elucidate my explanation. This is a true story. This happened to me about 10 years ago, okay, when I lived in Cornwall. I used to have a body piercing studio in a little town called Penzance in Cornwall. And because my town was so small and my body piercing studio was so well attended by the local people, I knew I was acquainted with well over half the people in town, like personally acquainted with people. So I recognized everybody as I walked down the street, and they recognized me. And one night I was on my way out for a Saturday night of debauchery, you know, how you do. And there was a young man who I recognized from my shop who we'd had a few cordial conversations in the past, and I could see that he was getting people to sign a petition. So I sort of strolled up to him and I said, "Hey man, what you doing here? What's your petition all about?" And he explained to me that he was trying to get signatures for people to sign to deny immigrants the right to benefits on the British benefit system. And I said to him, "I'm sorry, I can't sign that." And he's like, "Well, why not?" I said, "Well, you know, I'm an immigrant." And he goes, "Oh yeah, but you're different." That's something I get a lot from British people. They seem to think that Americans don't count as immigrants because our first language is English. Just because my first language is English doesn't make me any less of an immigrant than anybody who comes from Africa or Asia or anywhere else. In fact, I am more of an immigrant than people who come from Eastern European countries which are part of the EU, which was just what was happening when this guy was making his petition. Back in 2007, the EU countries expanded from, I think, 16 countries to 25 countries, and so there was a lot of Eastern European countries who were granted all the rights of being members of the EU. Now, it's not entirely accurate to describe the EU as the United States of Europe, where all of the different countries are like American states. That's not quite accurate, but there are certain things that it does have in common. For example, all the European countries have a common currency, just like we have, the same money in America for California as New York, that kind of thing. And also, people have the right of freedom of movement within the EU. So people from, for example, Poland or whatever can come to the UK, or people from Germany can go to Italy or whatever and get work without needing a visa. They can settle there permanently if they want to without needing a visa, that kind of thing. Just like you can move from California to Texas or whatever. So in that sense, the EU is like the United States of Europe. And I wanted to make that point because Eastern European people coming into the UK actually had a legal right to be here if they wanted to be. Whereas me, I don't have that right. I'm here legally, yes, but as a guest of the British government. HM the Queen, basically through the Home Office, has given me permission to live here because I've got British children. Okay? But they could revoke my right to live here at any moment, and I wouldn't really have any legal recourse. So yes, I'm an immigrant. More of an immigrant than the people that this guy was complaining about. Because he seemed to think that the people coming over from Eastern European countries shouldn't have the right to things like free health care on the NHS or unemployment benefit or any other benefits for like incapacity or maternity leave, none of that stuff. They shouldn't get any of those kind of benefits. That was his argument. And when I asked him why he thought they shouldn't be allowed to get these benefits, this is what he said to me, Nathan. He said, Britain should be for the British. Now, I think you'll agree that the 4 or 5 words there sound pretty reasonable, don't they? Britain should be for the British. How can you argue with that? That sounds reasonable, right? But in fact, it's not. I said to him, so, at what point, if you allow immigrants into the country, at what point are they taking too much? If you don't want them to have the free health care, okay. What about other stuff? Like I'm a foreigner. At what point am I encroaching too much on your Britishness? If I marry one of your women, is that taking too much of Britain from you? If I have a job, is that taking too much from you? What about me breathing your British air? Where's the line? What is too much? Now, you might think, Nathan, that this has nothing to do with the things that you said in your video, but in fact, it's entirely to the point of what you said in your video, because this idea that Britain is for the British sounds reasonable, just like everything that you said in your video sounds reasonable until you actually look under the hood and see what's really going on. Now, it's my opinion that you probably don't think that what you were saying is advocating against equal rights or against freedom of speech, but follow me here for a second. I was born in Chicago, all right? I am an American native citizen, all right? If I lived in America, I have the absolute right to freedom of speech as long as I'm not committing libel or giving away state secrets or, all the basic caveats we already know about. But pretty much I can say and do whatever the fuck I want as long as I'm not infringing on someone else's freedom. Okay? That's my right as an American. If someone immigrates from another country into yours, like America, for example, they have every reasonable expectation of enjoying the same rights you have. I, as an American, can go to the beach and say, oh, look at all these naked bodies or nearly naked bodies. This is disgusting. I can say that till my fucking heart's content. But you know what? It's not going to change a goddamn thing because I'm only one person. And if I really felt strongly about it, as an American, I could get people to sign a petition and maybe even get enough people to sign the petition that we put it on the ballot. Let's outlaw bikinis in Honolulu. I could write this. I could get this all on the ballot, and you know what? It would get voted down, 100%. Here's the thing. By saying you have to, to go along to get along is basically what you're saying. You have to go along with how we do things, and you shouldn't complain. Telling people they shouldn't complain is directly curtailing their freedom of speech. It is also directly saying we're more equal than you are. We have equal rights, but not you. because you're not one of us, so you don't get the same rights that we get. Bullshit. If someone comes to America, they get all the same rights as Americans have. Isn't that the point of immigrating? So yeah, another point I wanted to make about this, and this one I hope is going to be the actual point that seals it for me and Nathyn anyways, is with the probable exception of homeless people, Nathyn, immigrants are the least well-represented people among the political classes that there can possibly be. It is not a vote winner to argue in favor of immigrants for most people in most districts, right? And immigrants certainly don't have elected representatives who they have put into power. That just doesn't exist. I laugh my ass off, whether it's in the UK or in the United States, when I see people on the internet going, oh yeah, we have too many Muslims and they want to bring Sharia law. Let them fucking try, okay? Let them try and just watch what happens. It's not going to happen because they don't have the power to make it happen. They're an insignificant minority, and at the very least, they should have the right to complain, because complaining isn't going to get them what they want. Getting what you want, changing the way the system works in your favor, requires political representation, and they just don't have it. Neither are they likely to get it. Hell, in the UK, the Muslim population is less than 5%. In the United States, it's almost 2%. All right? That is statistically insignificant. So even though you do have members of both in this country, Parliament, and in America in Congress who might be Muslim by religion, they weren't elected on a pro-Muslim platform. In fact, they were probably elected in spite of being Muslim, not because of it. Okay? That's using Muslims as an example, but that was kind of like the elephant in the room behind what you were saying with your video. But I just laugh my ass off when people say, oh, they want to bring Sharia law. Let them try. Go ahead. Let them try to put it on a ballot. What have you got to lose? It's not going to pass. So let them have their voice. I'm foreign. I don't get a vote in this country, okay? At the very least, therefore, I should have the right to complain about the things in this country that I don't like because I don't get to vote about it. So shouldn't I get the right to complain? For example, I think there shouldn't be such a thing as a monarchy in the UK, which to most British people is like blasphemy. Okay, that's like swearing into your grandmother, all right? That's really a bad thing to say. There are some British people who don't like the monarchy, my friend Jacob Truman being one that I can think of off the top of my head, former Breakfast Club contributor. But at the end of the day, most British people love their fucking monarchy. I think it's stupid, okay? I think it's actually stupid to have a monarchy. Really, I do. And I should be able to say so without fear of retribution, without being told to go back home, because British people, like Jacob Truman, can also have that same opinion. It doesn't matter if you are foreign or if you're not foreign. If you really believe in equal rights, then everybody should be able to do and say the same, have the same latitude in your society. It's that simple, okay? If you've got the right to say what you want, you have the obligation to extend that same right to everyone else. Don't you agree with that, Nathyn? If you do, and I think you do, then shouldn't immigrants have the right to complain? They're not going to change anything by complaining about it. That's just not going to happen. They can expect you to change, but they can't make you change. And because they can't make you change, you've got nothing to fear from their complaining. So let it go. That'd be my advice to you and everybody else that has that same sort of point of view. I want to thank you guys for listening to this video. I look forward to a lively debate in the comment section down below. Like I said at the beginning of this video, we've got another guest host tomorrow on The Breakfast Club, a former contributor who's coming back, who wants to tackle Nathyn's video from a different angle, I think. And yeah, I hope everybody plays nice. I'm sure me and Nathyn will get along just fine about this issue. And Nathyn, please consider what I've got to say. And I look forward to hearing your response, whether it's in a comment, in a text, or in another video. I'll be back again next week, but I think I am going to drop in a parachuter on Monday because I kind of feel guilty about taking the parachute slot today. But I wanted to strike while the iron was hot and while I was motivated to do so. So yeah, guest hosts replacing me on Monday. I'll be back again the following week on Monday, though. And until next time, may all your ups and downs be ups.